So there's just what's appearing to happen. And what is going to be illuminated here is that there is just energy, just what's appearing to happen, and any sense that there's something happening and there's a you that it's happening to, so there's life and there's you with your life, is an illusion or is an artificial addition to what appears to be happening. It's a energetically contracted sense of being in the body looking out on a world that's outside of you, in which you see other people and things and relate to people and move in time and space in a linear causal manner. And it's a lived feeling of that being real. That's living in the real for the person. That's not questioned or really examined much by the person. It's taken for granted that I am a person. The whole world confirms I am a person since I was very, very small, and that's the way everyone agrees that there is separate people, and that's it. So this is a suggestion from nothing, a sharing, that sense of being a separate person is a story. It never even started, really. It apparently started. So there's no agenda or goal with this communication, because all there is already is nothing being everything. All there is already is wholeness, boundless energy. That's all there is. And in that may arise a sense that you are a person separate to that. When you feel like that, a separate sense of separation, there's a yearning. And the yearning, what's being shared here, is that yearning is actually for simply whatever appears to be happening already. And this is how it seems to elude you, because as a person you think that there's something missing, and you're thinking and your feeling is that it's in the future somehow, it's around the next corner, and it's this continual movement in hopeful anticipation of something better to come. There is nothing better. There's simply already nothing being everything. There's no better or worse, up, down, good, bad, special, not special. These are dualisms that come from, are reflective of the main separation, apparent separation, which is you and the world. So this is the illumination of what can't be known and can't be expressed. So we'll see what comes up. If there's a question there, it's there to be asked. It's energetic, really. It's not that there's an answer to questions, really. It's that sense of there being a question can fall away with the sense of you being a separate person. Apparently fall away because you're already not there. There's already just energy, boundless energy. Hi Trish.
Hi Kenneth,
Oh yeah,
how you doing?
good.
I just what you said earlier, just it's incredible that the last few days, this seems so crazy, but with all my seeking and all the things that I've heard over and over and over again, I'm just realizing that I've always thought that, like you said, I'm a person that this is happening to. And I've only just really realized the significance of that,
Yeah.
even though I don't know, you know how it goes. Even though I've heard it a million times and so on, I just had this like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay, my viewpoint or my where I'm sort of, I don't know, perceiving or whatever is me,
Yeah.
where things are happening to me.
Yeah,
And
there's a
so
there's a
all the
body
things,
mind which things pour
yeah,
through. Yeah, but
yeah,
that's just what happens. Yeah.
yeah. And it's sort of, I've sort of known that, but I haven't actually realized the significance of it, I don't think. And it's like, you're just freaking doing this. So it's just this loopy thing that you've talked about
Yeah, yeah.
over and over and over, and I've only just seen the significance of that, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard,
Oh, yeah. You could hear it
yeah,
a
said,
million times. You can hear it a
yeah,
million times,
yeah,
and that's when I
yeah,
say it has nothing to do with knowing. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
It is the person who knows a thing called non-duality. There's actually no such thing as non-duality at
yes,
all. Actually,
yes,
there's just simply whatever appears. There's just
yeah,
energy, but the person knows non-duality. So then, therefore, they know that they're not there,
yeah,
which makes
yeah,
no difference
yeah,
whatsoever
yeah,
because you have
yeah.
somebody who knows that they're not there. Then, so that's fine. That's
Yeah,
just what happens.
yeah,
It's
no,
totally
it's just,
beyond
it's
knowing or
just,
understanding.
yeah, yeah. I just thought it was amusing that it's taken such a long time to have this, to see what was actually going on.
Apparently,
What?
apparently taken a long time because
Yeah. Oh,
also
yeah.
it didn't take any time. You know,
That's
someone could be flummoxed by this. Like someone could encounter this communication about there not being anyone and be completely, engaged in it for 70 years. And then the feeling of being separate or the sense of being separate could apparently fall away
yeah.
and it'd be, oh, it's
Oh,
just
right.
this. Oh, so all that stuff I had in my head about nobody
Yeah.
and boundlessness and oneness was it's
Yeah.
actually just this, and then that
Yeah.
would be what would appear to happen, and it
Yeah.
wouldn't be however many years too late, or because this is eternity. This is eternal. There is no time. There's the appearance of time in the
Yeah.
story.
Okay. Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
It's hilarious.
Yeah,
A lot of
it's
laughs out of it, I have to say. I really out of all these antics that are going on,
oh
apparently.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It is hilarious because the most important thing for when you feel like a person is you. It really is.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even if you're a selfish if you're selfish, self-centered person, or a very kind of altruistic, thoughtful person about other people, doesn't matter. It's all actually about you.
Me, me, me,
It's
me,
me.
me.
It's the me show.
Me.
Everything is about me. And then it's hilarious that there is no fucking me. And there never was.
I
There never
know.
was. It never even started.
Yeah.
It's just an appearance. Just an appearance.
Hmm. So that appears to be going in and out of these antics,
Yeah.
of late. So it's quite amusing. So it was funny that you said that right at the beginning. So I just had to share my
Absolutely lovely. Yeah. I
realizations
mean,
of the last couple of days. It's exactly what's been going on.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. Really nice to hear from you, Trish. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Kenneth.
Thank you. Hi, Andy.
Good morning, Kenneth. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm yeah, I'm well. I'm surprisingly early. I didn't think I would get up this early.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned in your words at the beginning, anyone who is, or if there is a sense that something is happening. You didn't use those words, but that's the gist of it. Um, if there's a sense of something that is happening to a person, then that is the illusion. Can you just clarify the difference as you see it between um, appearing to happen and happening?
That's not describable, really. So it's the same as the difference between. Can I describe the difference between feeling like a person and there not being a feeling of feeling like being a separate person? It's indescribable. It's not. And it's a total paradox because in one way there is no difference because it's the same and it's completely different because it's the same in the sense that the feeling like being a person is a false addition, so it's not even, it's an appearance. So it's the very same, and it's in that way then that people, the big shock at realizing what I'd looked for is already just this, because it's no different than anything I thought, and that's the same as saying as what the difference between something feeling that something is really happening to me and the feeling that and the scene for no one that there's just what appears to happen. It's indescribable. Nobody has ever been able to describe it, ever. And yet it's ridiculously, shockingly ordinary. That's the thing. It's just, it's already the case that this is nothing appearing to happen. It's already the case. If you feel as a person that someone is speaking now, that's what's happening. But then if you didn't feel like a separate person, it would be very obvious there's just speaking. There's just sitting, there's just computer screen. There's just what appears to happen.
Okay. So me says it's happening that I'm asking that question, and then I'll say, no, it's only appearing to happen. So I've got something now. I've got that knowledge.
Yeah, and it's nothing to do with knowledge. It's nothing to do with knowledge or understanding. So
having asked the question and got the answer, it's useless.
Oh, completely, totally and utterly. You didn't ask the question even. This is completely energetic. This is. Totally
I didn't ask
energetic.
the question in what sense? In the sense
you're
that
not even speaking
really
now. You're not even speaking now. There's no you.
It's not even happening.
There's no you that asked the question. There's the appearance of a question appeared. Then what happens is you add yourself to it. I'm talking in general terms now. You, the person, so the question is there, right? So we all know what a question is. So the question is there, and then I add myself to the question that I asked the question. There's speaking, and I add myself. There's an addition of it's me that's speaking. There's a sense of sitting on a chair and the sensations of that in the body, and there's a sense that I'm sitting on the chair. There's sound, and there's a sense that I am hearing the sound. So there's a continual addition to everything when you feel separate of me to everything. And what's being shared is artificial. It's never. It feels real. It feels completely real. Of course, there's a me. Of course, I just asked a question there. What do you mean? There's. What do you mean? This is an appearance. This is. I just asked. Like there's a really lived feeling of doership, of someone who does everything, and that's the illumination here. That's a story. Everything is a story. Then everything is a story because everything is an appearance, which is totally and utterly beyond the mind. People can think they can understand it in some way. All they have is a concept. It's so immediately just whatever appears that it's there and not there. It's totally beyond understanding, and it's the person who lives in understanding and knowing.
But the key takeaway for me on this question is that there's no, well, there's a lot actually you've said there, but the one thing I asked really was that there's no such thing as something happening. It's just appearing to happen. Well, and in fact, get rid of the word just. It's appearing to happen.
For the person, things are happening in time and space, in a causal manner. Like, I mean, causality and time are arguably the same thing, actually. Causality is time, and scientists debate this up and down. But there's some scientists that would say very clearly time is causality. So causality it's a really then when that's all from a sense of being separate. It's an aspect of feeling separate. So then when there's no longer a sense of someone who feels separate, the causality falls apart, and there's just the appearance. Everything is real and unreal. It is and it isn't. It's beyond. It doesn't need to be known or understood. And it's indescribable. I can't. These are just words that are, and it's not that there's no sense here that I can any description that will somehow capture it for anybody listening here.
No.
But what it is that there's a sharing from nothing, and that sharing has a resonance to it, and the resonance is when it just resonates, and when there's an openness, not your openness or anyone's openness, it just resonates, and it's very, very obvious that there's just whatever appears to happen, and that this is what was yearned for always, just whatever, a simple aliveness. So it's that resonance. It's not. It's the person feels there's an answer to a question. You know, if you really simplify it down, the yearning, the seeking, there's a question. There is some answer to that. There's no answer because there's no question, because there's just whatever's appeared to happen.
That's great. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Andy.
much.
Thank you. Hi, Petra.
Hi, Kenneth.
Hiya.
Sometimes it seems so obvious that there's no me, and it feels so light.
Yeah.
But the opposite happens. So this is not what you're talking about. It's just another experience, I suppose.
It's just what appears to happen, yeah. And the mind then does is it says, well, okay, you know, yesterday it was just what appeared to happen. Everything was just appearing to happen, and there was flow. And now today there's this sense, oh, I'm here, so I'm back. So there's this kind of continual narrative then about, oh well, I'm back now, and I wasn't there yesterday. So because there's the thought that you're back and the feeling you're back, there's a kind of a real sense of being back. So then that becomes real then in the story. I'm back now and I wasn't there. Actually, there was nobody there. There was nobody who wasn't there yesterday, and there's nobody who was there today. There's just what's appearing to happen. Yeah.
Okay.
So if it's a sense of contraction or whatever it is, that's what's appearing to happen.
Also having the feeling no one's there is only just a feeling. It's not what is talked about.
It's just what's appearing. It's not what's talked about. It's not what's talked about. Because I mean, what's been spoken of here is this simple aliveness. So if that is that there's a sense of there just being everything, then that's what's appearing to happen. And then if there's a sense that there's a sense of contraction, that's also just what's appearing to happen. Like what's being illuminated here is inescapable, completely, totally and utterly inescapable. But the person feels it somehow. The positive, nice stuff is it, but the negative isn't. So a contraction and thing. Oh, that's that. And it's this continual push pull.
And the feeling of going in and out of something is also the illusion.
It's what appears to happen. And that plays out like it plays out then. That will just play out as it plays out.
And it has nothing to do with the glimpse or... Yeah.
No, I mean, the glimpses are... Go on, sorry I interrupted you.
No. But as I talk about it, feels like there's still someone who's looking for a special experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, then it isn't about a special experience. The special experience thing comes from the person who is the dualism of special, not special. And there's a continual rejection of just what appears to happen in favor of something special. And then sometimes these experiences appear to happen that seem special, and then the person then holds them up of, oh, well, that was it and this isn't. So like having a cup of tea and sitting down and just ordinary, like kind of having a shitty feeling, maybe that's not it. It was that special thing that happened, and that's that whole thing the person does. One is it and the other isn't. Whereas that special, not special, completely collapse. And there is nothing that is special or nothing that is not. It totally collapses, and there's just what appears to happen, which is nothing being everything.
Sometimes it's just when I sit and look out of the window or walk my dog, then it's this is nothing special, but it's just
Yeah, I mean, and that's it. Like
yeah,
it's every single thing that appears to happen. So you're not looking out the window, you're not walking the dog, and you're not speaking on a Zoom. It's incredible. It's amazing. There's just energy, which is nothing being everything. It's totally inescapable. We're not talking about some kind of state here or some experience that is accessible and that you can get into and it's some kind of non-dual thing. That's nonsense. It's just simply, it's totally and utterly inescapable. It's just energy, whatever is appearing to happen.
And it's not possible that sometimes it's felt and sometimes not. Then it's an experience. Huh?
It's not possible that it's sometimes what?
That it's felt or not.
No, that's if it's felt. If there's a feeling that there's just what's appearing to happen, then that's just what's appearing to happen. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's not that. It's you see the person kind of feels. Oh, there was a feeling that's and that's it there. That's it now. Hold on to that now. That's it. You've got it. You've got it. Oh, you've lost it again. You've lost it. It just slipped away again. Why can't you hold on to it? And that's the whole sense that there's someone there who can hold on to something. There's nothing to hold on to because there's only nothing being everything already. There's nothing to know. There's nothing to hold on to. There's nothing to get into. There's nothing to get out of. There's simply boundless energy. That's all there is. That's all there ever has been.
And even trying to hold on to nothing
is just what's appearing to happen. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Petra. Hiya, Vipula.
Yes, Kenneth, thanks. Just a short question. Actually, you almost answered this to the previous person. It's not exactly the sense of a person, but disappearance. I mean, the word that you use quite often, appearance or energy or what is. There is a sense of continuity.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Why is that? I mean, I know it is indescribable because there's no person described, but the sense of continuity is the illusory part, which is even more than the sense of person, isn't it?
It's an aspect of the sense of person. It's the causality. It's the continuous movement into the future, away from the past, and it's a causal reality where one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and that is time, really. And time and space are actually different aspects of the same thing because they're just on a continuum, and all of it is out of a sense of separation. It's just an aspect of this apparent separation that arises.
Right.
So that's that. It's a lived reality for the person of this causal linear kind of feeling is an aspect of the separation.
So perhaps it's more sensible to say nothing is happening rather than that there is no person. It's the same thing.
It doesn't matter really which way you come at it. In one, it's inexpressible. It's inexpressible and unknowable. Like, and it is said frequently that this is nothing appearing to happen because this is already no thing. This is nothing. But the person feels that they make something out of nothing. So they hear this and they think of what's this no thing or nothing that Kenneth is speaking about. Can I see this, or how can I see this, or what is this? So that something is made out of nothing, and that's when you feel like a separate person. There's a subject-object reality, and it's only possible to see something else because you feel like something. So there's an object to your subject. Actually, this is nothing. Nothing is being everything, and everything is nothing. So they're not two separate things. In the same way that life and death, it's a misconception by the person that there's a thing called life, which I have my bit of life, and there's another thing called death. This is the dualism.
In the light of that, Kenneth, I mean, everything that we say in using the language has a problem, isn't it?
Oh, everything is problematic when it comes to totally and utterly. Like, I mean, so that's why I don't get hung up on this term or that term so much, because there's stuff that's said that everything that's said you could find some sort of a problem with it, really, because everything is this way and that way, and like some things illuminate some things that are said seem to illuminate for and resonates for some people more, and that's what appears to happen. So it might be that, as you said, it's more accurate to say this is nothing appearing to happen rather than saying there is no separate you. Then that's what could just kind of resonate with there, and it could be, oh my God, there's just not, this is nothing appearing to happen. Whereas someone else, I know, for example, I've heard from people who've fallen away, as in apparently fallen away, or they don't no longer feel like separate people, and they don't understand the nothing being everything at all. They don't understand it at all. They can't. I have no idea what you mean when you say that, but they don't feel like separate people anymore. So it doesn't matter really. Like, I mean, the only thing regarding the language is the avoidance of expressions and terms that feed the individual, really, and are particularly confusing. And in this area, there are many that are terribly confusing for the person, and they just go down these rabbit holes. For instance, consciousness, awareness, all of these things, and that's why you find them very much in teachings and spiritual kind of teachings and non-Jew teachings. They're full of these things, that because they're just loops within loops, and the person the individual just loves them. It loves to just go down these endless rabbit holes and all of them are just totally pointless. Whether or not they have a point for the person, they kind of feed the person.
Thanks, Kenneth. Thanks a lot.
You.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Hi, Andy.
Hi again, Kenneth. As there was no question, I was loving the silence, but it's I just wanted to ask this question. So, I guess the question is about judgment and forgiveness. So I've been reading a Christian book. I'm not particularly, religious at all, but I suppose intellectually there must be some attempt going on to apparently see how this or what I understand about non-duality can marry or stack up against some of the more traditional ideas. And in the Christian world, they would say, well, do not judge, because we don't have only God can judge. And in the Christian world, you can also say that in a sense, it's not possible for us to forgive. It has to be, the book I'm reading has this concept of a real self with a capital S. And it is only when the real self is within us that we are able to forgive. I know that, I could imagine what Tony would be saying at this point. He'd be jumping in and saying that's all rubbish. But I sort of accept that it could be all rubbish and it's all part of my whatever's going on in my head, apparently. But the question is really, all that idea of forgiveness and judgment, it seems to be rooted in the idea that there is a sense of there being a greater good in God that would do that would have that. He was like the king in the kingdom, and that's a dualistic idea of there being a separate God and all that stuff. What I notice, however, is that all these speakers seem to have dropped any sense of judgment and any sense they don't. I don't often hear them say anything that indicates that they are making judgments about people and about what they've done. And I also don't notice anybody giving out a sense that you have to forgive either. So could you just help me understand that a little bit more from your perspective?
Yeah, of course, because there's nobody. So who is there to judge? There is nobody. There's no separate person. There never has been. So it's who could you judge? Nobody's done anything. Nobody's not done anything. There's just aliveness. There's just energy. So of course judgment collapses because there's nobody to judge.
But do you think that there needs to be a lived sense of a person in order for judgment to arise?
Oh yeah, it's within the story. Judgment is the judging of an other who has done or not done. So it's in the dualistic dream of separation. So how would you judge? How would you judge if there's nobody? Who would you judge?
Yeah.
Everything everything collapses. Everything collapses from the story because there's nobody. There is nobody. It's incredible. It's just there is nobody. So who would you judge?
Yeah.
There's nobody who's ever done anything. You're not speaking now. There's an appearance.
But there is the appearance of me speaking. And there is the appearance of somebody doing something that could be judged. And therefore there is then potentially I was wondering whether this idea of whether judgment arises. And
judgment arises in the story of you feeling like a person who judges somebody else. There's nobody else.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Good. I mean,
and like all these efforts that are made, like the self with the capital S and all of this, it's all dogmatic teachings that reinforce that there is separation, there is something to find, and I can help you find it. And it's always feeding this sense of lack, that you're not quite there yet, and what needs to happen is The person loves that. They love that what needs to happen with you, because they're living in their future self. This projection idea of me where things will be better in the future, and then it feeds on that. What needs to happen? That nothing needs to happen because this is already nothing appearing to happen. There's no you for anything to happen to.
Yeah.
And there's no higher authority, there's no higher knowledge, there's no higher anything. Higher comes from a sense that there's a little me. When there's a little me, there's a higher there, out there. There's people who know, there's things, and there's and that's just endless. It's a really lived feeling. There's no God, there's no authority.
There's no man in the sky with a white beard. But I know all that, obviously. But well, I say I know it, I don't know anything. But the feeling is that there are within the human, things arise. And what I'm trying, I suppose, to do is understand, well, something about that. So conscience, for instance, seems to just arise. I don't feel like, I must feel bad about, or I must feel bad about that thing I did. That it just happens, and I'm suddenly overwhelmed by a sense of conscience.
It's a feature of the story of you having a conscience. Is a feature of a story. Your ethics, your conscience, all of that is an aspect of the story of you, all of it. This
It
is
seems to come
complete.
from
This is
nowhere.
complete. Yeah, well, everything is comes from nowhere, because this is nothing being everything. But it's the sense, having a conscience and all of that. It all feeds into the sense that you're there and you're choosing to do or not do. This is the illusion. There's nobody in there. There's whatever appears to happen. It's a complete loss of everything. What's been shared. It's very
Including the,
confronting for the person. So any
it's just,
sense, the person has a sense of being real, that they have a life and they're taking action or not taking action. Then an aspect of that taking action or not taking action is like a rule book they have integrated into themselves of a conscience. I should do this and I shouldn't do that. So, and I'm great because I'm woke and I recognize this group and that group, and this all feeds into this sense of identity and story of me. That's all it is. So when the sense of me falls away, everything is lost. Everything is lost, and there's just what appears, which is nothing. Nothing is left. Nothing is everything.
so yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
That's really good. That's really good. I'll think more on that.
Thanks, Andy. Hi, Anita.
Hi, Kenneth. It feels, yeah, for me still too. Sometimes there is this nothingness, and there is a kind of a, yeah, call it daily life, and you could say from there is what is apparently is happening. Yeah, so there is no hierarchy, but it looks like, so in my work as a management team, it looks like there is a hierarchy.
A higher and a lower, is it? Are you okay?
I'm in a situation at my work that they former suspended me because I did something that the management team didn't want. But I want that openness. And
Okay, yeah. So there's an apparently higher. So there's apparently authority in the story. So the story is that some decision was made by an apparent authority that had an effect on you. So that's the story. That's what appears to happen. And what's been suggested is that's an appearance. So upset happens around that. So upset happens.
yeah,
There's
I know
upset, and that's energy, and it is as it is. It is as it is.
yeah, I came by that feeling of being guilty, but I'm not.
Yeah, yeah. If you wish, we can just email me. I mean, maybe we could talk one to one. People do that all the time. I speak to people most week.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Thank you.
Because it's quite clearly upsetting to you. So
Yes.
it's probably best to talk to one. You can, I gladly discuss it with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. No, upset happens. It's energy. Thanks, Anita. Just
Thanks.
email me, okay?
Yes.
Hi, Matt. You're muted there, Matt. It's not me, it's you.
Oh yeah, there we are. Is that better?
Yeah, it's a bit, you're a bit low, but I can barely hear you.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Okay. The experience here is one of fairly clear seeing in relation to the language that you use based on what's going on a day-to-day basis. So to be honest, you know, whenever I form a question in my mind, then the question falls away on the basis that there is no questions.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the personal sense of self has dissipated on that basis, or on that level, at least in terms of, you know, anytime a doubt is formed, then there is no further stage in terms of any formation of a question, which is fine. And I also know sort of the caveat to everything is that what appears to happen is happening.
It's what's appearing to happen. Yeah.
And I get that. You know, that's seen very clearly. Albeit, it is somewhat of it was an intellectual understanding, and then that obviously drops on the basis that, you know, that the idea of a me is an idea, and so it is like a house of cards on the basis that, you know, that there is an I that has knowledge, and so then the seeing appears, you know, with no personal I behind that seeing. But in terms of my daily life is still very much, you know, from the sense of that separate self and the suffering that arises based on that separate self being there. And from time to time, the struggle for the seeing to happen in the moment is harder and or easier, but there's always that transition of seeing from this, because the sense of separate self and the suffering that's attached to that is permanently there.
Apparently there, yeah.
Apparently, you know, the shaking of the proverbial apparent head and this clear seeing happens after that, sometimes sooner or sometimes later, you know, but there's always that remembered, I suppose it's like an ingrained suffering. It's an assumed suffering based on historic patterns.
Yeah.
Always there. And I wonder whether that will eventually fall away. Is there a transition? I mean, I feel like I'm sort of transitioning.
Well, it will eventually fall away, because the good news is you're going to die.
What, the personal self or the body?
No, well, both.
Hopefully both.
That's the way it is. I mean, the sense of separation collapses one way or another, apparently collapses, and it either apparently collapses when there's still the body is functioning, or when the body stops to function. That's the way it is. So it feels to me that there's there's an openness to what's being shared, and there's a resonance with what's being suggested here, there, and then that's playing out like it's as it's playing out then.
Yeah, yeah, that is the feeling, you know. It feels that is the seeing. The seeing has happened, you know, and there's no
But
turning back.
the sense of being separate is not an idea or a concept, or like it's a good example of how this has nothing to do with knowing, because you know there's a knowing of what's being shared, and that's fine, but that's nothing to do with anything. It doesn't matter at all. It makes no difference whatsoever.
No,
So there's just a resonance. It's resonating, and then it's that sense, that story there is kind of playing out as it's just playing out as it's playing out. So there'll either be that will appear to continue or not, or appear to kind of be there and not there or whatever.
yeah, it's just what's happening.
It's just what's happening. Yeah, that's a long way. Yeah, in other words, it's just what's happening. We're back to the caveat.
And the thing, yeah, but absolutely. And the fact is that the mind is just so quick to just create these stories.
Oh, completely. Yeah, like, absolutely. Just story after story after story.
Even you saying what you're saying now in response to my initial opening, and suddenly, I mean, just then in a split second, I just had like a multi-layered story appear about what I know, and about how the knowing needs to then transition to feeling, and all this elaborate story just within the split second appeared. And I suppose it's about recognizing it initially, but I suppose really that is so that was really my, again, it was a story that appeared, and if any question could be formed, it was that one. It was just about inquiring about that transition period between knowing and feeling.
But all of that is just it's all the resonance. Like, all of this is just a resonance. So you didn't really ask a question, and there wasn't an answer. That's all in the story, and actually this is just, all of it is a resonance. It's complete resonance. So it's resonating there as it is. It's just what's appearing to happen.
Yeah, sure. Thanks,
Thanks, thanks, Matt. Your mic was very low. I don't know, Nick, if you speak again.
Sorry, I'm in my car, and yeah, it's all too complicated, all this technology.
Yeah, don't worry about it. No, I could just hear you. It was fine. Yeah.
You heard me okay? That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too, Matt. Thanks. Hi, Gemma.
Yeah, cheers.
Hi Kenneth, how are you?
Oh, yeah, good.
I guess what I'm noticing is that I'm finding it harder and harder to have like socially acceptable responses to the external world. You know, like when people around me are talking about things that are important to them, and I don't see the importance because I'm starting to realize that none of it's real.
It's all a story, yeah.
Yeah. So it's really hard to like maintain those relationships because.
Well, but hang on a second.
But they don't exist anyway. I know that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's the thing. It's the person that feels they need to maintain a relationship. A relationship is a story. So it's that when there's just what's appearing to happen, there's clearly no relationship to anything, because there is no and there's just what's appearing to happen then. So it just there's nothing to be done or not done, or it's all in that illusion that there, like if you take what appears as another person, and when you feel like a person, it would be that's a person in my life. They're in my life. We have a relationship which I need to nurture. And actually, you're not actually seeing them as they actually are at all, because you've objectivized them. They're an object in a story, and all of that energy is artificial. So there's no issue. There's just what's appearing to happen. It's as if, you see, what I'm saying is, it's as if I don't nurture these things, that there'll somehow be a difference, that it'll be somehow, that it'll be neglected and it'll fall apart or whatever. And
it feels like there's this thing that comes up that says, in order to have a relationship with them, I have to stay as a person.
no, it's all a story.
Yeah.
That's all a story. You're not the sense of being a person is artificial. And so that's just all a story about you staying as you to maintain this artificial relationship. It's the same thing as saying, the person thinking, well, if I'm not here, everything's going to fall apart. I mean, the bills won't get paid, the mortgage won't get paid, the job won't get done, the kids won't be reared. None of this will happen without me. It won't. So I need to be there for this to happen. It's the same thing. So when that sense of self is no longer, it's saying, I was never paying the mortgage. The mortgage is apparently paid. The job is apparently done. The children are apparently reared. Everything, it's already just appearing to happen.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thanks. And when the sense of feeling like a person apparently collapses, what felt like relationships, some completely just collapse, totally and utterly. And the reason is that it was all premised on a sense of you being a person and them being a person, and it was a game of meeting of needs in some way, that when you no longer feel like this separate person, the energy totally collapses out of it. And because you no longer feel like a person, the energy for that what feels like another person is no longer there, and the whole thing just falls apart. And that's just the way it appears to be. And there's no telling if that will apparently happen or if it won't. But a lot of these, what we think of as relationships, actually are things that just feed the story of the individual self. Thanks, Gemma. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Kenneth. So this word story has somehow got my attention. It sounds a bit as if story is wrong, or like that non-duality judges story.
Well, that's what's happening there then. That's what arose for you, that some sense that there's a judgment.
Yeah.
There clearly is no judgment. How could there be any judgment? What's being suggested is it's all energy. So energy appears as a story of me. How could that in some way be wrong? Or there's nothing right or wrong with anything, really, in that it just is as it is. Right and wrong comes from the sense of being a person. Or you could say right and wrong is just in the story. But how would it, like, how would it be that somehow that's the same as saying that somehow what's being suggested is this sense of being an individual is somehow wrong? Well, how could it be if it's just energy, it's just a play of light? What it is that and the person is always looking to have itself validated and fed, and when that doesn't happen, then it can feel very stark and cold from when it's heard, this message is heard.
I think that, yeah, maybe this so when a person, like when this me energy is like dropping, then maybe that is maybe hinted, then this whole, maybe what you describe is that this whole sense of real storytelling is is dropped as well, because then it's seen that there is only what's happening. But so I'm somehow tangled up. Like I've done lots of, let's say, therapy in all kind of regards, and so there is this, I don't know, like in childhood, I feel like that there is like the initial storytelling somehow developing, or here it was, in order to be able to cope with certain aspects of life. And maybe that is somehow so deeply ingrained, like that this whole sense of me has somehow like attached around this thing.
Yeah, it's part of the story there.
Yeah.
That things to do with maybe trauma, or things to do with somehow personal development or therapy, and some of them things are important and are an aspect of the story there. So that's just what's appearing to happen. I think it's been said a few times throughout this meeting actually, that this is total poverty. This is a loss of everything.
Oh yeah.
Because it's a loss of any aspect of the story. Knowing and understanding is totally collapses, and all meaning collapses, and there's just what appears to happen. Everything is nothing, and nothing is everything. Yeah. It's totally beyond the mind. It's beyond understanding and knowing.
Yes.
And it's very simple and ordinary. It's just what it's
yes.
indescribable.
Yes, and it's a bit like this attraction to that constant over and again attraction to that message, and then something is like, it appears as if some energy or the resonance is getting, like something is I don't know, unraveling or unwinding, and it's like, yeah, something like that.
That's also just all a narrative as well, though.
Yeah.
Because it's already the case that there's just laughter. There's just laughter and voice and sitting on a chair, and it's very simple. Like the sense that any story about me, or the me unraveling, or the me kind of mean and being and all that, it's all a story. Because there is no me, there is no individual there already.
Yeah.
It's very ordinary what's being shared and suggested. It's just, there's just already just what appears to be. And nothing needs to be done about all of these concepts of traumas and different things. They just are, that's what appears. They are as they are.
Yeah, I can sense that. It's amazing. This is like amazing, this sensing of it, or the resonance of it. Yeah. Yeah, and it's beautiful how the birds are chirping over there.
Yeah,
like in the background. You have the window open.
I got them especially for this meeting.
Yeah, beautiful.
I got them. I get them to come up near the window to chirp for you guys. I mean, there's no expense spared in this. It is lovely though. Birdsong is a beautiful thing for sure. Bit of traffic there too. That's not so nice, but it is what it is. It's the traffic and the bird song. Wow. It's the traffic as much as the bird song. How does the appearance of serious illness in spouse fit with this message? So much concern, grief happening here, wanting to let go to better help him. Sorry to hear that, Karen. I mean, the way it fits is that there's just energy, and energy is nothing being everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. The person is a sense of continually living in the comforting itself, and living in the positive, and pushing away discomfort, and feeling that bad things that happen, uncomfortable things, painful things, are they're somehow not it, and the good stuff is it. And when the sense of feeling like a person is no longer, there's just a play of light, and that play of light is everything. It's not living in some comfortable bubble where bad things don't happen, or and energy appears as a spouse who gets sick. It appears as someone who dies very suddenly. It appears as horrific trauma. It appears as war. It appears as unimaginable pain, and that is energy. It's not some nice, cozy, comfortable thing that's been spoken of here. It's full-on aliveness, and full-on aliveness is people you love suffering. That's what's appearing to happen. And when it's seen then that that's what's appearing to happen, it's all energy. I realize this answer is of no comfort, obviously, but this is the communication, this is the sharing. Pain appears to happen. Thanks so much, everyone. That was lovely. And just as I said to Anita as well, anybody who wishes to, sometimes more personal things can kind of come up for people too that they don't really want to say, and I totally understand that. So I usually talk to a few people during the week. If you email me, it's usually the evening time, 9ish. Thanks a million. And
thank you, Kenneth.
There's a contribution, a link for PayPal there. And thanks so much to those who contribute. Appreciate it. And speak to you soon. I'm going to get an email out, but I've got that virtual retreat in 2 weeks as well. So everyone's on my email list, I think. Yeah. There you go.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Kenneth.
Kenneth.
Wonderful talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kenneth.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.